Hey guys, Tennessee Yankee, welcome back to the channel. Hey, it's the middle of winter, it's freezing cold outside, and I thought maybe today I'd show you guys how I have my shop organized. This is going to be M&M to hardware storage, and then I'll show you some of the other storage shelves that I have and how I keep my shop organized. So here we go. This is one of the main components of my shop organization, and I'll tell you why I do this way. So I got to have me some M&Ms once in a while. I've been known to go through a few of these. Um, so these are some I currently have in production. This one's unopened, but eventually these get saved and they get made into my storage container. So I think these just make wonderful storage containers. And one of the reasons I like them is because they're stackable. Usually I can do two or three with no problem. And what I like is instead of having a bank of drawers or something that's fixed, maybe I'm going to work on a project at a buddy's and I need to bring, 5 different things of hardware with me. I just grab all 5 of my containers. I don't have to worry about bringing loose open drawers that are going to fall out. And plus, a lot of times those drawers don't store a lot. And I just like the fact that, I can come up with infinite storage solutions with this, and they're very portable. And then what I like to do is I just dump them out on my bench half the time and then put them back in when I'm done with it. So I just come up with these for the things that I use the most. And I just have, a weekend warrior shop, not doing anything too fancy out here, but that's kind of what I came up with my solution. And then one of the reasons I wanted to do that too is just instead of having things out in the open, a lot of times you'll have like storage bins out in the open, and all they do is just collect dust and sawdust and shop dust. This way, everything's kind of keeps clean and sealed. So you can see here, this is probably some of the original things I started with. I used to have a bunch of these containers that you'd spend money on, which I still have a few. I've got rid of most of them because the problem with these is they're ultimately too small. So I still have some things like razor blades and command strips and grommets and different things like that in the small containers. But then I use these bigger ones for a variety of other storage. And then all I had to do basically to make this storage happen was just build a shelf to put everything on. So that's what I did. So some of the things you can see I have that I like it for: cotter pins. I got one for chain, multiple types of screws, zip ties. I keep my adhesives and silicone in there, pulls and knobs, miscellaneous screws, hook and eye. I keep all my punches and chisels in one of them because it's just they don't organize the best, so I just throw them all in there. I got one for wall anchors, hose and O-ring parts. Those are things that they're always hard to find when you need them, so I just have a whole thing for that. I like to keep a bunch of leftover popsicle sticks, and I keep old credit cards that you don't use anymore, or debit cards or things that expire. Those make great scrapers, so I keep those. Let's see, we got some trim rivets for like the side-by-side. And then we got some various nails and hose clamps and washers, rope and wire. And then I have some various containers down here that have miscellaneous screw sizes in it. And again, one of the things that I used to drink a bunch of this instant coffee in this size. This is like that Maxwell House size, and that works great for screws. So I know this is nothing new. Your grandparents used to probably have storage in baby food jars, but what I like about these is the large size. And then I also kind of use some storage, these old plastic containers. When you have things like glue guns and all the glue that goes with it. I have a little Dremel tool in a case like this. And then I have one of those plastic tubs for safety glasses and respirators, and then another one for ear protection and gloves. Like this whole thing is just filled with disposable gloves for the most part to grab on projects. So that's how I round out my hardware storage. And then down here at the end of the shelf, I just have, space down here for various silicones and lubricants and acetone and mineral spirits and those kind of things. And then down here at the base of the shelves, it's kind of a little bit of a junk collection, but I use it to store extension cords. I hang spray bottles of cleaner there. And then over here, a little bit of space to hang some of my blower and saws. And then over here, I used it for a little storage area for my paper towel. And then I have a little clamp holder in here that I built. And then just another rod that I put those kind of clamps on. So overall, in this little space, I get to store quite a bit of stuff. Now let me pivot and I'll show you what I built for the bigger items. So over here I have this little portable cart that I have my drill press on it, a little vise, and on the other side I have my chop saw. So I just pull that out, turn it around when I want to use a chop saw. So those pretty much always stay on there. And then I store some of my socket sets, corded drills, jigsaws, other things under there. And then under this bench, I just have, sockets, angle grinder, little electrical box. And then up in this area up here, this is where I have all the things I want to access quickly. Actually, I don't even remember where I bought these. If I got this from Amazon or where I got it from when I was building the shop out here, but it's this metal pegboard because I got sick of that cardboardy type press board material because after a while those things just bust apart. So I think these panels were a little bit pricey, but there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 panels here that make up this section, and then just various peg hooks. So all the things you need to grab quickly are over here, hammers and whatnot. And then I have various other things. I just put more plywood up on the wall and painted it just to hang other various tools. And then up top, just some more storage, little stereo, and then very top shelf, we got some speakers and throw some extra oil up there and things. So this is one of the parts that I like the most. That when I first built this is kind of what I envisioned, because in my old house, I had just bags and bags of things like electrical wire, and you had paint and all kinds of closets and just cleaning products laying all over the place. So I said, okay, why don't I devise something where I can put a lot of things in these storage totes? And that's pretty much how I store most of my shop stuff. So you can see here I have the capacity to put 12 totes in this space. And I'll give you a measurement of this in case you'd ever want to create something like this. But pretty much I just bought the totes and then I planned it out in the space that I had here. And I just built out the whole wall with my bench there, my portable bench in the middle, and then the storage. So what I like about this, for what I have for this, is I have one that's all just plumbing, electrical, and miscellaneous. So this thing is completely packed full. I have so much wire in there, so many little plumbing ends, anything electrical or plumbing that I need, obviously, except for some bigger pipes that I have sitting here in the corner, is in that box. I have a box that's completely dedicated to sanding. So I have my random orbital sander in there. I got hand sanding blocks in there. I got all kinds of sanding materials in there. And I actually have just 2 pails in there to kind of organize things as well. So you can actually fit 2 5-gallon pails easily in one of these for extra organization. And then I got one just miscellaneous chainsaw, tractor, boat, side by side, just miscellaneous parts and junk in there that I might need to access. I got one completely dedicated to paint. So this one here is just all my miscellaneous paint, that not my house paint, like all my house paint's in a closet somewhere else, but this is just my random spray paints I have, and touch-up paints and different things like that. I got a cleaning one that's got all kinds of car cleaning products in it and different stuff like that. I have a lot of different kinds of tapes and films and stretch wraps So those are all in that one. That one there, I got a bunch of chain and rope and wire and miscellaneous things. And then I have another one that's just all painting supplies. So that thing's completely filled with, old jars and things like that that you might want to store paint in, paint brushes, paint rollers, anything dedicated to painting. And then lastly on this shelf, I have a junk bin, all kinds of miscellaneous stuff in there that you think you might need later, but you're not really sure. So you hang on to it for a few more years. That usually ends up in the junk bin. Up top, I have one that's just got tarps in it. And then one more that's got all kinds of audio, speaker wire, miscellaneous household wiring and stuff like that. So, and then all the way down here at the floor, I just got some buckets that I use for the rest of my stuff. I got grease guns and funnels in this one. I got a 5-gallon bucket that's just full of gloves. I got one that's full of straps and winch materials. I got one that's full of rags. And then back there, I think I got one that's full of shims, and then one that's full of more elbows and hardware, or more elbows and plumbing supplies and things like that. So that's a little disorganized right now, but that's kind of what I did. So let me go ahead and give you some measurements on this shelf if you ever decide to recreate something like this. So to accommodate 3 of these bins, my shelf area is basically 65 inches wide, and that's all the way to the edge out here. And then in between, you can see that this corner one here, it's kind of shoved in behind the frame. So you got room to put it in, but then you kind of got to slide it over. So you're making the most of the space, but it is sitting behind the frame of the shelf, or behind the frame over here. The height I have on here is basically, 23 inches underneath here to the next shelf. These containers sit about 15 inches high. So, and then lastly, the container itself, these particular ones are about 14 inches high. They're about 19 inches wide. And what's the depth on these things? I got the depth on this shelf about 32 inches deep, and that fits the whole thing in there. So you can see here there's other uses for the shelving too. It's a good place to store a really long straight edge that's 60 inches long. I got a little bit of extra screwdriver storage here, as well as over here on the side of this bench here. I got another video, I'll link it to the end of this one, about this ultimate screwdriver storage. That's worked out extremely well. You can see it barely takes up any space whatsoever. So that kind of rounds out how I'm storing stuff. In the front of my shop, around where my truck is, and my other area for the totes is just right over here. I actually have space in front of my truck, so I just leave these out here. But I have one of these is dedicated to storing my little Weber grill that I use in the summertime on the boat. And then I have one for oil change supplies, like a drain pan and measuring cups and different stuff like that, different tools for oil changes and lubricants. And then I think I have an empty one over there, and then I have one that's just full of oils and lubricants and different things like that. So just keeps, I didn't have all the shelf space for lubricants, so I just keep them in those totes, and I could keep going. I could store those as high as I wanted to without shelves, but they are kind of a pain, in front of my truck and stacked on each other like that. You always gotta take them off to get to what's underneath, unlike the ones that you build the shelf for. Over in this corner, I also repurposed this thing. This was for a desk I had made at one time. You can see the holes in the back. This was to prop up monitors and just make a certain size workspace for the monitors, and then have the cords and things go through while you stored other things underneath the desk. Different desks, different times, don't need it anymore, so I repurposed that, hung it to the wall here, and now this is the storage that I have for chainsaws and, you know, my outdoor stuff. So just to the left of my bench over here, this is where I keep my boat batteries in the winter. Just keep going back and forth on the tender. I just got some bricks. This is where I keep my air compressor. Got a little shelf I made to store that with all my different nails for the nail guns. And then there's a sled that my dad had made me for my table saw. So I just store that on the wall. So one last piece of one of my favorite organization things I got here is this pliers rack. I'll go ahead and put a link to this in the description. Got it a few years ago from Amazon. This thing is 12.5 inches wide by 9 inches tall by 3 inches deep. And it's got 15 spots for various pliers. So I love it because they're all just here and always accessible and handy. Now some of these have wider slots to accommodate larger pliers, and then down here you can see they get a little bit thinner, but they work well for these, just like these tiny little needle nose and things. And then I think you can see they have a shelf on the inside there, and that kind of helps push some of them back in so they're not falling out towards you. So pretty cool little thing. I like it when you can gain a lot of storage with very little space, and that's certainly the case with this, just like those PVC screwdriver racks. So yeah, trying to do a lot in here with just this little extra garage in the back of the house here. So I think I know I previously did a video on this this convertible bench. So I built this just to have a little extra workspace, and this thing actually folds up into the wall there when it's not in use. So if you're interested in that, I have another video on that project. All right, guys, that was short and sweet, but I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video.
Hey guys, Tennessee Yankee. Thanks for watching. If you found this content helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on your right. I have other content linked for you on the left side. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching.